Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Today I hope, or will try, to talk about two things that are seemingly polar opposites. But I believe that's something that all of us that, are doing what we're doing to be prepared need to kind of hear and need to kind of realize. And what I'm getting at is that number one, we need to not live in a state of fear and panic. We need to not constantly worry and have this fear that the world is coming to an end, that the end is near, that things are going to get worse, that we're going to completely lose this battle, that we're not going to be prepared enough, that we are, constantly viewing and hearing and reading and listening to all these things that are going on in the world today that we're hearing from both the left and the right, all of these theories and conspiracies and facts. We need to not constantly live in a state of fear and panic. But yet on the other side of this coin, we do need to have a healthy state of fear, a healthy realization of what's kind of going on, a good dose of reality every once in a while. I am the kind of person that, I don't know if you want to call it a problem or a gift, that I tend to not sugarcoat things. I like that myself. I like things not to be sugar-coated. I want you to tell it to me plain and clear and blunt, and I'll deal with my feelings later. If I was to go to the doctor, and this has actually happened in the past, and he had some kind of bad news for me, I want him just to say it. I don't want him to kind of beat around the bush, run around the barn trying to find the door. I just want him to say it. I don't care about my feelings right at that moment. We don't live in a world that's the case, though. We live in a world that our feelings is what matters most, and we have to tiptoe through the tulips to kind of spread a message, because we don't want to, hurt anyone's fragile feelings. So I might be a little blunt in some ways, but I'm not going to apologize for that. Anyways, we live in a world that things that are happening, especially here in the United States, that I firmly believe are being orchestrated and manipulated. In fact, I believe the vast majority of the things that we hear about, the things in the news, the things that are going on, are in some way orchestrated and or manipulated. And what I mean by that is I believe that there are people, politicians, world leaders, elites, and this isn't all just the Democrats either. They're just people that are kind of in charge of things, that are orchestrating a lot of the problems that we're seeing happen today. And I also believe that even the things that happen that are just complete coincidences, just natural occurrences that just happen from time to time, those are probably also being manipulated. They're being manipulated in their favor, and twisted and turned, and I think that's just the world that we live in. I think most of you would agree with that. That right now there's probably not a lot of just coincidences happening. Because of that, we have to be careful what we listen to. We have to be careful who we believe. We have to be careful of the information out there. We live in a technologically advanced age that it is very easy to manipulate information. I am not a tech guru, okay? I'm just not. But I know enough that there's a certain level of things that I could do. I could manipulate a photo or a video or a letter or something to make it look like something that it's not. I can only imagine those that have very advanced skills and very advanced technology could make things look extremely real. And I think that that's part of what we're seeing. I think part of what we're seeing is that several years ago, I had the opportunity to sit and talk with, pretty much for an entire day, with a gentleman that was a veteran of Vietnam. He was an officer, a high-ranking officer, and was also involved deeply in the intelligence community. This guy was way up the totem pole in that community at that time during the whole Vietnam era. In other words, he was in a position to know a lot of things, a lot of very classified, top secret things. And while he didn't necessarily divulge a lot of that to me, one of the things that he did tell me that kind of stood out is that the technology that he was privy to, that he knew about, that existed 40, even 50 years ago, would seem like a normal, up-to-date, current technology now. He said he actually mentioned a few things. He said, it amazes me, the satellite technology, surveillance technology that they're touting now, at the time that he was telling me this, as, being very advanced. He said we had that kind of technology back in the 60s and 70s. The point being is, and this is another thing that's not going to be a shock to you, is that the people in power, the elites, the government, the intelligence community, the big tech companies, they have technology that would just blow your mind. This isn't a conspiracy. This is something that's just common knowledge. If you ask any person on the street, do you think that the government has more advanced technology than what's available to the common people? I would almost promise you, probably nearly 100% of the people would say, well, yeah, of course they do. So there is a possibility, and most likely a likelihood, that some of these technologies are being used to manipulate the truth. So that's one thing that we need to be aware of. We need to be aware of the fact that there is technology out there that can manipulate the truth and can do it very easily. I want to show you a picture, and this is just to kind of prove the point. A month and a half ago, I can't remember exactly when, Jeff Bezos, the head guy of Amazon, he went up into space. Remember that? Or just kind of on the edges, he has that rocket company. You remember that, I'm sure. It was in the news, he got to go up into space. Just a few days ago, William Shatner, Captain Kirk from the original Star Trek, he finally got his chance at 90 or 90-something years old to go up into space also, right? It was all over the news. Big deal. I want to show you a picture of side-by-side shots. One is a picture of Jeff Bezos in his little flight suit that he wore when he went up into space. And the one next to it is a picture of William Shatner in his little flight suit getting ready to go up into space. I want you to notice, and it will be hard for me because I don't have the technology to do it. But if you have to pause this video, that's fine. Take notice of how the uniforms that they're wearing are absolutely identical, other than the little name tag on them. In fact, they're so identical that every crease and wrinkle, like see these, as someone is sitting or standing, are absolutely identical. It's pretty obvious. It doesn't take long to figure out that all they did is just Photoshop different heads. We don't know that if either of these pictures are of Jeff Bezos or William Shatner. It just appears that they've just taken the head of both of these people and put on there. And the question is why? Why would they do that? I'll get to the picture in just a second. Why would they do that? Even if neither of these people actually went into space, it wouldn't be that hard to slap a flight suit on them and have them pose and take a picture. So what is the need of doing this? I don't know. I don't have the exact answer, but what I can say is to me, it's just more evidence that the vast majority of things that we are viewing as manipulation. Here's the picture. Notice how like I said, if you have to pause this video so that you can look at it closely, that's fine. Or take a screenshot if you don't believe. But every little crease and wrinkle in each picture are absolutely identical. The shading is different. They've obviously messed with the shading or whatever of of each picture, the tone and stuff, but it is the same picture. This is the world that we live in. We don't really know. Most of us are not privy. Most of us do not have the level of knowledge, the level of intel to know for a fact of what something is, whether it is or isn't. Most of us don't have the technology. They are able to manipulate and control truth. And this is being done on both sides. I want to make that very clear. I see stuff all the time that even at my level of knowledge, which is small, and my level of technology, which is small, I've seen stuff spread around from the right, saying stuff about whatever. And it's pretty obvious that it's fake, that it's wrong, that the information is incorrect, and many, many people jump on board and believe it. I'm not saying that everything I've ever said on this channel is absolutely factual, but I do spend a lot of time trying to track down and verify as best as I'm capable of that what I say is accurate. And in fact, I get emails from people saying, well, why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you talking about this? It's because I can't verify it. If I can't verify it, then I tend to just not say it. So because I've said all this, one might say and come to the conclusion, well, there's no reason to prepare at all. It's all just fake. There's no reason to panic. There's no reason to live in a state of fear. There's no reason to prepare. There's no reason to spend our every waking hour focused on what are we going to do to prepare? What do we have to do today? What can I learn? What can I stock up on? What can I do? Well, number one, that's really not what you should be doing anyways. You need to have a break. You need to have some kind of a life. Yes, it needs to be priority. We are living in an era, in a time that I believe that preparedness should be a high priority of your life. But you need to have a break. Myself, I try to take one day off a week of video making, of video editing, of researching, of even communicating with people. I try not to make comments on videos or anything like that, at least one day a week. Of course, it is my Sabbath, but which I don't work anyways, or at least earn an income, do anything to try to earn an income. But I do try to take a complete break from it, not just for a religious reason, but also for my own mental health, because it's just too much. We have to have a healthy balance in our life. But the flip side is that just because there is a high probability that a lot of this stuff is either orchestrated, manipulated, controlled, faked, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't prepare. Let me give you an example of it, a couple maybe. The whole supply chain stuff, the stuff that's happening at the ports, the trucking industry problems of getting stuff from the ships setting out in the ocean and to your local Walmart and grocery store. Is this just a happen, chance, natural occurrence? No, I don't believe so at all. I believe it is being orchestrated. I believe it's manipulated. I believe if this just truly happened and they were truly dedicated and interested in fixing it, they would have started working on it long ago. There would have been solutions that they would have come up with long ago. I mean, in an emergency solution, I'm not necessarily advocating for this. I'm just saying it would be within their power, is to just activate some National Guard units and send them to the ports and have them work the ports, and activate some National Guard trucking units and have them deliver some of this stuff. It is within the scope of their authority. I mean, they've done this kind of stuff for other things. But just because that there's manipulation, control, orchestration of the crisis, doesn't mean that it doesn't affect us. Of course it affects us. It absolutely affects us. Panic buying. I remember people talking about it last year, and they're going to talk about it again when people start panic buying. That, there's no reason to stock up on. There's no reason to go out and stock up on things. There's no reason to worry that the shelves are going to be empty because it's just a bunch of crazy people panic buying. It's just the news media hyping it up. Yeah, it is the news media hyping it up. Yes, it is people that have no clue what's really going on, just going out and panic buying. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to affect us. It's not going to affect you. That if there are things that you truly need, or just other people, things that they truly need, maybe their child is sick and they need a particular medicine and they can't get it because people have panic bought and bought it all, or whatever the situation is, or someone that is deeply into poverty and homeless, and they need to eat, and they go to a food bank and the food bank is empty because everyone's panic bought everything. It still affects individuals. It still affects us. So even though these things may be fake and manipulated, there's enough people that have bought into the lie that in a sense it makes it reality. I mean, reality is just really all a perception anyways. I mean, you could say that. So even if a shortage isn't real, and I get that a lot of times. There's not really a shortage of this or that. I get it. I know, you're right. But because there's manipulation of it and because there are people buying into the lie, therefore it makes it a real thing. So we have to prepare for that. We have to take it serious. Just because it's a fake, manipulated, orchestrated crisis, it doesn't mean that it's not something we should prepare for. We are dealing with, even though people that are in charge aren't necessarily actors, they're so tightly and deeply intertwined with Hollywood and the whole entertainment industry. I believe it all is. They really are actors. Shakespeare once said the world is a stage. And I think a lot of what we're seeing is that. So we have to have a good dose of reality, I think, to know that a lot of the stuff that's being done is fake, obviously lies, not necessarily real. Be aware and use some real deep, strong, critical thinking skills when we see a video or a YouTube or an email or something. Even if we think it comes from a reliable source, we have to kind of get through it and use some discernment and figure out if it's real. Even my stuff. Don't just watch my channel and just believe everything. Research it for yourself. My grandfather was an old preacher, old country preacher, and he used to say that. Don't sit in those pews and believe every word I say. He said, you need to research it. You need to get your Bibles out, and you need to research the things that I say, and you need to find for yourself if what I'm saying is true or not. And that's what we should all be doing. There's been too many problems already because of this. Even with prepping families, like a husband and a wife that are both on board with preparedness, it's even causing problems amongst them because one wants to take their preparedness in one direction and one may want to take preparedness in another direction. Don't fall victim to this crisis by buying into the panic, because I think that that's part of what they're doing. Yes, we should prepare. Yes, we should build our communities. Yes, we should train and develop and become more self-sufficient. We should do all of these things, and we should be doing all of these things anyways. And we should be aware of what they're doing and what they're saying, even regardless of how much of it's fake or not, because it also helps us gauge how close things may be to a collapse. It gives us a possibly just a little bit of time to prepare for the whatever doom. I can't say the word right now. I'm sorry. Impending doom. There it is. I know that I feel like what I'm saying here is some mental gymnastics, so I hope that it's coming across correctly, or at least the idea is. Basically, what I'm trying to get to is that we have to have a healthy dose of reality that so much that's going on is manipulation. Much of it is potentially fake, absolutely, completely fake. All of it is being controlled in one way or the other. But even though fake control of things, it's fake, it doesn't necessarily mean that bad things aren't going to happen. Bad things will happen. For instance, this Great Reset. The Great Reset is happening. I mean, it's happened whether you like it or not. What the results are going to be is how the Great Reset unfolds. And if their manipulation, their control, their deceiving ways causes a reset of our civilization to unfold in the way that they want it to be, or is it just going to happen in more of a natural way? But mark my word, no mistake about it. Everything that's happened in the last 24 months, civilization is in fact going through a massive change, a massive reset. The question is what's the outcome going to be, good or bad? Don't be so caught up in the lies that it brings you down and it causes you confusion in your own mind. It's good to pay attention and recognize what they're saying, but also recognize that it's manipulated, controlled, it's faked so many times. And then we do have to have a healthy dose of fear, and also a healthy dose of reality as we're actively preparing for the things that are happening now and that very much will happen in the near and distant future. I hope I got my point across. If not, let me know, and I'll try to do another one and see if I can be a little bit more clear. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.